The Trump administration is no stranger to shaking up the established order, particularly when it comes to global trade. White House aides have reportedly drafted plans for a sweeping new round of tariffs. These tariffs, if enacted, would represent a significant escalation in President Trump's ongoing trade conflicts. The proposed tariffs would impact a staggering volume of goods entering the United States. We're talking about potentially slapping a 20% tax on nearly everything Americans buy from overseas. The administration argues that these tariffs are necessary to protect American jobs and industries from unfair foreign competition. However, critics argue that these tariffs will backfire, driving up prices for American consumers and inviting retaliatory tariffs from our trading partners. The stakes are incredibly high, and the world is watching nervously as the Trump administration prepares to play its next hand. President Trump is a master of branding, and he's given his new tariff plan a name: Liberation Day. Trump is framing this as a moment of economic emancipation for the United States, a breaking free from the shackles of global trade agreements and unfair foreign competition. By invoking the language of liberation, Trump is tapping into a deep well of nationalist sentiment. He's portraying himself as the champion of the American worker, the leader who is finally standing up to powerful foreign interests and putting America first. The date chosen for Liberation Day, April 2nd, is also significant. By unveiling his tariff plan on the heels of tax season, Trump is creating a deliberate juxtaposition. However, critics argue that Liberation Day is a dangerous misnomer. They see it as a declaration of economic war, a reckless gamble that will harm American consumers and businesses far more than it helps. Liberation Day may sound like a cause for celebration, but it could easily turn out to be a day of reckoning for the global economy. The Trump administration insists that these tariffs are not about protectionism, but about fairness. They argue that the United States has been taken advantage of for too long in trade deals, and that these tariffs are simply a way to level the playing field. The administration points to the large trade deficits the United States runs with countries like China and Mexico as evidence that the current system is rigged against American interests. However, the administration has been vague about which countries will be targeted by these tariffs and how they will be applied. This lack of clarity has created a great deal of uncertainty in the global marketplace. Businesses are left wondering whether they should delay investments, stockpile goods, or shift their supply chains to avoid potential tariffs. This uncertainty is already having a chilling effect on global trade as businesses adopt a wait-and-see approach. The lack of clarity from the Trump administration is only exacerbating the situation, leaving the world on edge as it awaits further details about these potentially game-changing tariffs. The Trump administration has floated a tantalizing idea for how it might use the revenue generated by these new tariffs: a tariff dividend. Under this proposal, the trillions of dollars collected from tariffs on imported goods would be redistributed to American taxpayers in the form of tax cuts or direct payments. This idea has proven to be politically popular as it taps into a deep-seated desire for tax relief and government assistance. The administration argues that this tariff dividend would provide a much-needed boost to the American economy. However, economists are deeply skeptical of this claim. They point out that tariffs are essentially a regressive tax, meaning they disproportionately impact lower-income households who spend a larger share of their income on goods and services. Moreover, critics argue that a tariff dividend is a dangerous distraction from the real issue at hand, the potential for a trade war. A trade war would likely lead to higher prices, job losses, and economic instability, far outweighing any short-term benefits from a tariff dividend. The tariff dividend may be a seductive idea, but it's ultimately a dangerous illusion, a fiscal mirage that could lead the American economy astray. The global economy is a complex and interconnected system. Disruptions in one part of the system can ripple outwards, impacting businesses and consumers far from the initial shock. The prospect of sweeping tariffs imposed by the United States, the world's largest economy, has sent tremors through global markets and supply chains. One of the most immediate impacts of these tariffs would likely be higher prices for consumers. Tariffs are essentially taxes on imported goods, and those taxes are typically passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices. This could lead to a spike in inflation, eroding consumer purchasing power, and slowing economic growth. Businesses that rely on imported goods would also be hit hard, facing higher input costs and squeezed profit margins. The uncertainty surrounding these tariffs is also creating a climate of fear and hesitation in the global marketplace. This uncertainty is acting as a drag on economic growth, undermining business confidence and making it harder for the global economy to gain traction. The Trump administration's flirtation with protectionism is nothing new. Since taking office, President Trump has imposed tariffs on a wide range of goods, from solar panels and washing machines to steel and aluminum. He has also threatened to pull the United States out of key trade agreements, such as the North American Free Trade Agreement and the World Trade Organization. These actions have strained relationships with key U.S. allies and sparked fears of a global trade war. The administration argues that these tariffs are necessary to protect American jobs and industries from unfair foreign competition. However, critics argue that these tariffs are counterproductive, harming American consumers and businesses far more than they help. Moreover, these tariffs have invited retaliation from our trading partners, who have imposed their own tariffs on American goods in response. This tit-for-tat escalation of tariffs has created a climate of uncertainty and instability in the global economy, undermining business confidence and threatening to derail global economic growth. The world is watching nervously as the Trump administration prepares to unveil its Liberation Day tariff plan. The stakes are incredibly high, and the potential consequences of a global trade war are dire. Businesses are bracing for the worst, consumers are facing higher prices, and the global economy is teetering on the brink of uncertainty. The international community must work together to find a way to de-escalate the situation and prevent a descent into protectionism. This will require dialogue, compromise, and a willingness to find common ground. The United States, as the world's largest economy, has a particular responsibility to act responsibly and avoid policies that could harm the global economy. The coming weeks and months will be critical in determining the future of global trade. The hope is that reason will prevail and that the world can find a way to step back from the brink of a trade war.